If you want to learn how to change your OEM head unit from this to this new T10 V2, keep watching this video and I'll show you how to install it. Okay, in this box is the Toyota T10 V2 head unit from CarTrimHome. Let's go ahead and install it. Quick disclaimer, if you've never purchased from CarTrimHome, they are based out of Hong Kong. And so keep in mind that my multiple banks that I use and my credit cards all denied my purchase many times. I'd actually be on the phone with my bank to purchase that radio head unit. And I had to call them and say, I'm about to purchase it right now. The transaction went through, and then they had to approve it on their end just so I can purchase this thing. So keep that in mind if you ever have to purchase from CarTrimHome. You might have to talk to your bank. I do like seeing how well protected the radio is. It's completely covered by this foam. If you don't own any plastic pry tools, it looks like it does come with some. Next, you're going to get into your car, but be careful if your shop dog loves sleeping under it. Gently shut your door and don't bonk her on the head. Next thing you want to do is remove the OEM head unit, radio head unit. So to do that, you need to start by removing this piece of trim and then this piece of trim. And that should be pretty straightforward and easy. I don't think you need a pry tool to do it. It should just come right off. Takes a little force, but be a little gentle with it. Mainly because you don't want to break, let's see if you can see it, the little yellow tabs. And then the next piece. I have found it's easier to remove this piece if you're removing it from the same side that you're sitting on. Now you need to remove the full climate control bar. I think it's easiest to remove it from underneath this tab here. I did remove my shifter knob just because I thought that was the distraction. It was kind of taking up a lot of the space here. You don't need to do that. Next, go ahead and take this piece out and uninstall this piece here. Now you're going to remove 4 of these 10mm bolts. You might need to jiggle it, but go ahead and try to pull this guy right out. When you pull that head unit out, you're going to get just a whole nest of wires back here. That's what it looks like. Just a quick plug, this is a lot easier to do as a job if you have LEDs installed up here. If you don't know how to do that, that video is also on my channel. Highly recommend. Now once you get everything uninstalled, this is what it should look like. And there it is compared against the T10. I've laid a piece of cardboard and a towel over the cardboard so none of these components can get damaged or scratched against any kind of work surface. Make sure you remove the hazard warning lights wire from the OEM head unit. Next, remove all these clips from the OEM head unit so you can transfer it to the new unit. I almost forgot, you're going to need the white clips as well. This was not the easiest thing to do, but when you pull the vent, you take it from this side and pull it, and it should come off the bracket. And then for this piece, you want to twist or turn it this way and pull this way, and it should come off as well. I almost forgot you need to take some more trim pieces from the OEM unit. Screws here, screws there, and then also a screw here and a screw here. This is a vent trim piece. That's the same vent trim piece for the other side. And then this is also like the upper panel of the head unit. So go ahead and take those out and we'll put them on the new unit. Now that we're a little over the halfway point, I say it's time to give our shop dog, who's been a good dog, some treats. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Put your clips back into place. I will say that the bottom clips here, these yellow clips, you really had to push those in tight and really had to guide them into getting back into their hole. I did get a little ahead of myself, so I made some connections, but I'll make sure I explain all of that. But right now, go ahead and reinstall the trim for the vent here, the panel here, and the trim piece over here. Then after that, put the vents back into place, and then also make sure your hazard button is back. All right, the vents are in. I got the white clips and the yellow clips in as well. And now let's go ahead and start explaining how this assembly works. So let's start with the most important piece. If you find this assembly here that has all of the different white harnesses for the wires, take that and you'll find the black harness. That goes into here. That's your power. That's what powers the rest of these. From there, you shouldn't have anything else hooked up into the right side of this unit. Next, you have your hazard warning light wire. Keep this one out of the way. All right, after the warning lights, you should be able to find a wire that's coming out of the master harnesses, and that should hook up to the upper right piece here. And then after that, you're gonna have a 4-pin USB here, which is kind of redundant because next to that 4-pin USB, you have a 6-pin USB that will hook up to this one. And then next to that 6-pin dual USB, you're gonna have your camera pins. And when you hook up that camera pins, you should be able to trace it back to this cable, or this auxiliary kind of port. It's a yellow female end and it's labeled as camera. And how do you know where that goes? Well, it's gonna trace back to the master terminals here. The only problem is that there's 2 yellow male ends. And so you're gonna ask yourself, which one does it go into? You can do one of 2 things. Either hook it up to one, test out the camera. If it doesn't work, swap it. Or what you can do is, before hooking these guys up, see which white harness your truck accepts. Because note that this yellow one hooks up to this white harness, and then this yellow one hooks up to this white harness. So depending on which one your truck accepts, that's how you know which one it's going to be. So for my case, I know it's this one, and it's the bigger one. So I'm going to assume your vehicle is the same as mine. So go ahead and take your yellow male end that's hooked up to the bigger white harness and hook it up to the camera. Now on the bottom right, you have this pin over here, and this is hooked up to a bunch of output options. I think a lot of that is for extra music or subwoofers or anything like that. I've capped them all off. The only thing you might need is this SIM card, and that's a SIM card reader right there. And then also you have a, where is it? On the black auxiliary, yeah, the black auxiliary port is optioned for this extra mic. Now I'm going to leave this plugged in, even though I'm not going to use any of those options, because just in case the internal mic does suck, I might actually wire this one out of the truck, or out of the center, or out of the head unit, so that I can get better audio. Now, if you're not going to do any of those things, especially if you're not going to use a SIM card or any of those outputs, you don't need to bother installing this. It was actually really hard to install for me. And again, moving on to the next piece, if you're not going to use a SIM card, then you don't need 4G. You can take the 4G antenna out. You don't even need to have that plugged in. And then next you have your GPS over here. I am leaving the GPS plugged in, just because I think, if you lose your phone, you can at least still get GPS through your head unit if you're not using your phone. And I almost forgot, coming out of the master, you're gonna get your radio. Make sure that's plugged in. And then really tighten out that GPS nut. Another thing to note is that this box here does hook up into the master harness, into this white one. And then after that, you're gonna be left with this piece. This should be one of the only components or cables left out that's not hooked up to anything here. That's because this end actually goes into the truck, and it's a converter that eventually hooks up to this USB, which you then hook up into any of your USBs over here. All right, I'm back in the truck, ready to start installing from the truck to the head unit. One thing to keep in mind is there's gonna be 2 white wire harnesses that will not be used. So if you run out of things, don't be too alarmed. Okay, at this point I have everything plugged in. Pretty easy to do because things can only plug in one way. If it doesn't plug in, rotate it 180, and if it doesn't plug in again, then it doesn't belong there. Don't be alarmed if you find things that don't have a home. For example, this one should be going to the climate control. Once you get here, I'm actually going to route my GPS piece up and up and above and try to get it on top of the vent, and everything else just kind of shove it in there, and then try to close the unit, try to close this unit in, and check below where the climate control compartment is, and make sure none of those wires are dangling down. Before you actually push the unit in, go ahead and turn your vehicle on so you can do a functions test. It's always easier to do that function test while it's uninstalled before actually doing everything. Definitely do the reverse camera, and when you put it into reverse, you should get your camera on. If you get either a green screen or a fuzzy image like that, that's good news. All you have to do at that point is tap, you gotta tap the screen so that the gear icon appears on the upper right. Click the gear icon, and once there, find the button that switches your setting to auto or NTSC. I had to switch mine to NTSC to make it work. Once I switched it there, the reverse camera was perfect. If you don't get a green or a garbled image and it's just blank, then you need to switch those yellow cables that kind of look like this one. You need to switch that yellow cable wherever it's located to the other yellow female. Once you do that, then follow these steps and you should be good to go. All right, there you have it. I'll move it into reverse. I've got my camera, and then when I hit the warning lights, I've got my lights. Now time to play around with this thing and make sure I customize it to the way I want it. That's the video. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'm happy that all of this got installed. Just do the climate controls and put the trim pieces back in, and you should be good to go. Thank you for watching. All right, and with that project complete, you should always give your shop dog some treats. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment if you got any questions on that install or if you want to see some more.